Well, Justin Crump is a security risk consultant in London. He told me earlier on the bombing has the hallmarks of a terror strike.
I think what you've got here is an alignment of capability and opportunity for the jihadists, who I think are almost certainly to blame, and al-Qaeda-linked elements.
Well, why do you say that's almost certain? Just clarify that, if you would.
Yeah, of course. I think a number of things. The method of attack, which seems certain to have been a car bomb, looking at the scale of the explosion there, and indeed the accounts, and the simultaneous firearms attack using someone dressed in security force uniform on the island nearby, which actually appears to have been where the Prime Minister in fact was, although I've not had that confirmed. Very deliberate targeting at the very centre of the Norwegian establishment, obviously looking at the Prime Minister, and I would have thought almost certainly tied to involvement in Afghanistan in this particular instance. But I mean, Norway's got quite a history actually of jihadist activity below the surface, and 3 arrests a year ago now actually related to separate plots out of Norway, engaging other countries in general. One plot by Uyghurs against the Chinese embassy in Oslo, which was, again, inside the country but not aimed at the Norwegian establishment. So that's the change, I think, with this event. But the fact that it could come to pass, I think, given a level of capability already shown in the country, is no surprise.
As you say, there have been a couple of incidents in the past that would suggest that there were people who might consider Norway to be a legitimate target. Legitimate's not quite the right word, but I think you know what I mean. Having said that, though,
Indeed,
there are other countries who would perhaps fit the bill a little bit more closely, aren't there?
Well, this is why I think it is, again, that coincidence, if you like, of capability and opportunity. The thing with Norway is it's obviously a very liberal society. There's comparatively little spending on police and internal security. And I think that's given the jihadist community there the freedom to operate. And it was interesting, the last thing we saw in Scandinavia was the slightly aborted attack in Stockholm last year. In fact, carried out by an Iraqi man, but who came from Luton originally. And rather than attack in the UK, he carried out an attack in Scandinavia, because it was presumably because it was comparatively easier to carry out there. And again, a lot of the attention is focused on Stockholm and even more on Copenhagen because of the Jyllands-Posten cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad, which have been very controversial. And so I think people haven't been looking at Norway, but nonetheless, again, there's that community there who are seeking to carry out attacks very clearly.
Well, Justin Crump there articulating a thesis which I think a lot of people have been following right now, and that is that this is a terror attack and that the obvious candidates are al-Qaeda. One thing that's probably worth pointing out is that we have no evidence of that at all as yet, so it's worth just mentioning that point. But secondly, the man who police in Norway say they have arrested in connection with the shootings at the Labour Party youth camp is reportedly blonde and Nordic. So that would suggest that perhaps there are other elements possibly in the frame for this.